Hello and welcome to High Vibe Astrology. This is Jennifer. Thank you for tuning in to this special edition where I'm going to be taking a look at the United States solar return chart drawn up for July 4th, 2024 at 4:07 p.m. Eastern Time. The solar return for the United States is when the Sun, at 13 degrees and 19 minutes of Cancer, returns to that exact degree. The chart for that specific time represents the theme and story unfolding throughout the year from July 4th, 2024 to July of 2025. I thought it would be interesting to see what this chart has to say about the energies we may see playing out this year. And as I always say, there is great power in the connection between the microcosm and macrocosm that not only applies from our nation to the rest of the world, but also from each one of us to our nation as a collective. All things are interconnected, and our energies weave in and out of the people with whom we feel any connection. So what we do and how we respond to the energies this year will ultimately affect our nation, as well as they will impact the rest of the world. Because of this connection and for this reason, this video is offered with the intention of helping us align with and manifest the highest vibration and outcome as we possibly can. With that intention in mind, and because we are addressing the homeland, I was guided to pull messages from my angels and ancestors oracle cards. The two that came out are the Air Guardian and Animal Guardian, both of which I'll share in their entirety at the end of the astrology portion. But to paraphrase here, the Air Guardian message talked about being able to change how we think about what we are seeing, and to understand that not everything we think we see is actually how things are. The Animal Guardian, very simply, asks us to trust our instincts, to not second-guess them, to validate those feelings and honor them with appropriate expression. So let's have a look at the astrology in this chart. We have Scorpio rising, and this is very telling in terms of describing a year of complete and utter transformation. Truly, this is a year of endings and beginnings, death of the old for the purpose of bringing in an entirely new experience. This is especially true with Pluto forming that very prominent trine to Sedna. And as I have said in previous videos, but will repeat here because it certainly applies to Scorpio, most astrologers may not share my view on this, but besides Mars and Pluto being the co-rulers of the sign Scorpio, I also assign Sedna. Scorpio has 3 symbols, not just 2. Its symbols are the scorpion, the phoenix, and the eagle. I associate Mars with the scorpion and the ego's need to hang on to what it knows and to control things for its own safety so that it feels safe. I assign Pluto to the phoenix, where we have no choice but to surrender the ego's death and allow the transformation to take place so that a new perspective and a purer expression of soul can shine through. But even at this stage of maturation, that death and rebirth process can become very old and exhausting. So I do assign Sedna to the eagle, which does represent wisdom, but also the ability to transcend the drama and the trauma of the constant death and rebirth that often comes with the Scorpio sign. With the eagle, we have the choice of being able to rise on the current provided by divine source and to be able to see with greater clarity the big, broad picture of all that is going on in the lower dimensions. With those wings that we have earned, we are also able to take flight and escape the drama, as it were. So with Pluto forming that very powerful trine to Sedna, this is enabling us to access that new experience and graduate from the traumatic death and rebirth of the phoenix and be able to soar like the eagle. And what a wonderful metaphor this is, because the eagle is the symbol for the United States of America. The eagle is regal, and I would say that it is time for us to step into that regality again and be a leader in far more positive ways than we have been up to this point. The other thing about Scorpio rising is that Scorpio has the ability to spot phonies from miles away. Whether it's information, people, situations, Scorpio has that laser-like ability to see right through all that is false. Mars on the 7th house cusp, conjunct Uranus, could symbolize actual military presence or action on the horizon that impacts the people and humanity's evolution, represented by Uranus. We also have Pluto opposing Mercury, and Mercury is the dispositor of the moon in Gemini in this chart. We have a very strong Scorpio energy aside from the Scorpio ascendant, because both luminaries are in the 8th house, native house for Scorpio. And we have both Sun and Venus conjunct there and the moon in Gemini there as well. But getting back to this opposition from Pluto to Mercury, Mercury rules communication and the media. It is sitting in the 9th house of broadcasting, publishing. The fact that Mercury is opposite Pluto says to me that there will definitely be revelations and also a transformation of the media itself. And I think we've already seen some evidence of that taking place. The Gemini moon at 29 degrees forms a tight square with Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. In this chart, the moon represents the public, and the square to Neptune signifies a great deal of deception being squeezed out into the surface of our reality. Squares always apply pressure that creates outer events and that also facilitates awakening to becoming conscious. So hopefully those in the nation's public who have remained in a Neptunian slumber will finally be able to connect the dots, to wake up to the falseness that has been perpetrated on not only this country, but all of humanity around the world. With the moon in the 8th house of hidden matters, that square from Neptune is shattering the comfortable illusion of a reality that was never founded upon any truth. And because this is a solar return, the house placement of the sun is the most important placement. It's a solar return, therefore we look at the placement of the sun. With the sun also in the 8th house, in addition to the moon, the other luminary, and the Scorpio ascendant, this 8th house transformative energy certainly means that we are in for a year of excavation with regard to hidden truths that were buried deep and kept hidden over a very long period of time. This is what needs to happen in order for our nation to heal and reverberate that healing into the rest of the world. Held hostage, waiting for certain segments of the population to wake up. That is what the 8th house and the Scorpio energy is truly about. Uncovering the authenticity, even if we have to go through an extremely vulnerable period of time as these truths are coming forth, percolating up from the depths. Now let's look at Saturn conjunct Neptune. Both planets are retrograde, meaning that we are revisiting, reassessing, reevaluating what those planets stand for. Saturn rules over the 3rd house in this chart, with Capricorn on the 3rd house cusp. And the 3rd house is the house of communication. The low vibe of the 3rd house is a tendency to hold on to a more narrow point of view than its opposite house, the 9th, where our views become much broader and wider, taking on a more panoramic perspective. Saturn retrograde means we have to reassess, review, and reconsider previous perspectives on all 3rd house matters, such as communications and the media, especially with Mercury in that 9th house of broadcasting. This message is fortified by the air guardian, which talks about how we need to renovate or rethink some of those perceptions that we've been receiving. Now, with Neptune retrograde, this is about reviewing and reassessing our spirituality and how it is impacted by what we are perceiving, what we take in with our visual sight. Mercury and the 3rd house has more to do with the thought process. Neptune has to do with our spiritual vision and perception. The low vibe of Neptune can be quite deceiving. It is the mirage or the foggy, dreamlike state. The fact that Pisces and Virgo are intercepted in this chart means that we are having to find within us the means to develop these energies because we had no role model from our leaders, especially as it pertains to spirituality and the body-mind-spirit connection. We also can't ignore the fact that Neptune and Pisces have so much to do with the medical system, addressing certain mandates, quite frankly, that were sold to us as being healing when they may not have been in our best interest. With a conjunction of Saturn retrograde with Neptune retrograde, this is literally a reality check for many who have not yet come to realize the power that lies within them to be their own spiritual authority and to understand how powerful their thoughts and perceptions truly are, rather than seeking an authority figure represented by Saturn to tell them what they should think and believe. So this is a really important energy, and one I feel that both the air guardian and animal guardian are reminding us to renovate and rethink in our own lives. Saturn makes a trine to the Sun and Venus. With the Cancer Sun and Venus connected, the water element of emotional sensitivity is certainly going to be activated and impacted by the weightiness of whatever revelations come to the surface this year. Next, we're going to look at Venus making a square to Chiron in the 5th house. Venus is the ruler of the 7th house, the house of others, and in this case, those entities, nations, allies, and even those open enemies. Because Venus also rules that Libra South node, there are elements about our past that are going to come to light in terms of how we have been wounded within our own expression. This is the realm of self-expression, creativity, uninhibited joy, and reasons to celebrate life. It's the ability to thrive rather than just survive. And these are the energies that are being healed this year with a square from Venus to Chiron in the 5th house. This square is also going to squeeze out certain events designed to cleanse, clear, and heal, a pathway to partnering with those who truly have our best interests at heart. As we look at the nodes of the moon, the sun forms a T-square to both of these nodes, and this signifies that in the past, we have allowed the consciousness of this nation to completely revolve around some other entity's universe, someone else's definition of what is real. There are definitely perceptions of reality and certain ideologies passed off as truth that have held the consciousness of this nation hostage that are now going to be completely renovated, completely changed up and seen for what they are. I am encouraged by the fact that the Aries North Node sits in the 5th house of joy, play, celebration, creativity, and innocence. It is the native house for Leo, and we have Leo on the midheaven, the destiny and outcome of this year's unfolding story for our nation, for the United States. Even though there is undoubtedly a rite of passage and initiation we will have to go through this year, the ultimate conclusion bodes well with Leo on the midheaven and the North Node in the 5th house. Even though the North Node is in the sign of Aries, the fact that it sits in the 5th house is analogous to a North Node in Leo. And the North Node is always looked at through a positive lens. So North Node in the 5th house means that our destiny is to arrive at that place of celebration, really being able to express our regal nature, that regal eagle, without inhibition. And the fact that Jupiter is making harmonious aspects to the South Node, our past, and the North Node, our destiny and future, is a very positive sign, especially because Jupiter is the ruler for the Sibley chart of the United States. Jupiter is magnanimous, beneficent. It also does expand upon what it connects to. So we will be putting a magnifying glass on our past with that trine to the South Node, but it will also certainly support our movement forward and evolutionary purpose. Venus rules both the South Node and the 7th house, so this combination of Jupiter and Venus also is a positive combination which will help us heal this year as we go through these challenges. Jupiter's conjunction to Sedna magnifies the fact that our world is changing in monumental ways and will never ever be the same again. For those of us who understand the deeper meaning, as well as the higher dimensional meaning of this, it is absolutely good news. It is great news. I see this as expanding upon that regal nature of the eagle, because I do perceive Sedna representing the eagle, and Jupiter represents that kingliness. So the two of them combined is supporting our evolution into understanding our role as a nation with the rest of the world. Not that we are greater than any other nation. There is no superior attitude here, but it is a position of leadership if we step into it and understand what needs to change in order for that to happen. I also like the combination of Jupiter and Sedna because this is human law represented by Jupiter with Sedna's law, which is sacred spiritual law. And Sedna's law demands that confessions be heard by those who have egregiously transgressed against life in any way. And I think we're seeing where there are holes in man-made law that need to evolve into Sedna's sacred law, where there is the same justice being meted out for everyone. And when we take this into the context of the Scorpio rising, and Pluto opposing Mercury in the house of man-made law, there can be no doubt that any deceptive, dark, abusive, and manipulative forces will absolutely be met with divine justice. More importantly, the new earth that humanity is creating in partnership with our nation will create systems that no longer tolerate, let alone allow, such atrocities from ever taking place on this planet again. Now finally, let's look at this conjunction of Mars and Uranus in the 7th house. Aside from the opposition from Mars to the ascendant, Mars doesn't really have any problematic aspects or connections, and with this conjunction of Mars and Uranus in peace-loving, steadfast Taurus, it calms down what could be a very volatile, fiery energy. So if we understand Uranus to represent humanity and humanity's evolutionary journey, combined with Mars representing the energy that defends and protects, and in this chart, the 1st house represents our nation as a collective, while the 7th house represents other people. So I do see the possibility of more military, or at least defensive energy at the border, especially since we have Aquarius on the 4th house cusp ruled by Uranus, because the 4th house does represent our home or the heartland. So the ruler of the 4th house, Uranus, combining with Mars, says to me that we will be defending our borders in a much more present and pronounced way. So that is all I have for you in terms of the astrology in this USA solar return chart. Please stay tuned for the oracle messages, as well as the planetary frequencies that support the harmonious integration of this chart and the energies that will last throughout this year. And I'll be back soon with a video for the Cancer new moon. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to being with you soon. Bye for now. Air Guardian, shift your perception. Change the way you think, and you will change your whole reality. The Air Guardian card represents the angels of the air element. Traditionally, air is all about thoughts, thinking, and everything that's happening in the mind. So these angels can help you to overcome any thoughts that have come back to haunt you from the past and to see the world more clearly. They are guiding you to change the way you think about certain situations, as this could be standing between you and greatness. When this card arises, it's an opportunity to learn about your way of thinking. You are being guided to recognize that not all you see is exactly the way you see it. Sometimes the mind can play games, and sometimes our perceptions can be wrong. If you are being challenged, or feel that there's a lack of clarity and direction in your life at the moment, there's a good chance that the way you're thinking, or what you're focusing on, has a lot to do with that reality. You are being guided to open your eyes and your mind, go beyond any limits you have set for yourself, and recognize that the way you see the world is how you will experience the world. Opportunities are moving in your direction, but they will only open up for you if you are ready to do the internal work to support them. Animal Guardian, trust your instincts. Trust the powerful animal spirit within to learn more about yourself and your talents. The Animal Guardian is the card that represents the angels of the animal kingdom. Animals are angels of nature who have incredible lessons to offer and medicine that can support you on your spiritual journey and help you survive some of your greatest challenges. When you connect with the energies of animals, you can learn a lot about yourself and the earth. You also have instinctive animal energy within that can direct you towards everything you need and more. The Animal Guardian card depicts a tribal angel being held and supported by her animals. She has a love for them and they have a love for her, demonstrating how incredibly connected nature is with the spiritual realms. You have a powerful animal within that can be wild, protective, instinctive, and even calm. Animals don't second guess how they feel, they just express it. And you can also learn from that. When this card arrives, it's important to connect with how you really feel, how you want to feel, and what you really need. Take the time to connect with your animal energy and express it naturally. Let even the fiercest energy move through you before returning to your natural state. It will teach you a lot about your gifts and how you can grow.